Hello, fourth graders. Happy Thursday and Friday. Here's the video for reading, writing, and expedition. Let's get started. First, our learning target for today is I can play a carbon cycle game, read a book about the carbon cycle, and explain how carbon moves around our planet. So first, what is carbon? Carbon is, it is this element that can't be broken down into anything smaller. So it's something that exists in a lot of different things. It's in all living things. We have so much carbon in us. Plants have carbon in them. Anything that's wooden, that's made out of a tree has carbon in it. So many rocks like diamonds, graphite, coal, fossil fuels are made up of carbon. And it's just this tiny, tiny, tiny thing. You would need a microscope to see it. And it's made up of it's in so many things, carbon is. And it ties back to energy, what we've been studying too. It connects especially to fossil fuels. So let's talk a little bit what the carbon cycle looks like before we play this game. So the carbon cycle, let's say we're starting with the fossil fuels that are under, oh, right now I don't think you can see it because this bar is hiding it, but as soon as that bar goes away, oh, okay, we can start in the atmosphere, in the air. So we have carbon dioxide, which is something that we breathe out. So everybody take in a breath and then breathe out. In the air that you just exhaled is carbon dioxide. So breathe in again. That's carbon dioxide. So this carbon dioxide is floating. This carbon, that C stands for carbon, is in the air, even though we can't see it. And plants take in the carbon dioxide. They take it in when they are making their own food through that process, photosynthesis. So plants just lay out in the sun like this. They take in the sunlight, the energy from the sunlight, and they take in that carbon dioxide that we breathed out. They take it in and they use it to make food and to grow. And then when they die, when plants die, it gets into the soil. So you see here dead organisms, waste products, all of that gets into the soil. And like we talked about when we were studying fossil fuels, over millions of years from those dead plants and animals dying, they got trapped under rocks and heat and pressure pushed down on them and turned it into fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas. So now all the carbon that was in those plants that the plants took in is now inside these rocks, inside like the liquid petroleum or the gas, natural gas. Then when we dig up those fossil fuels, when we dig up that coal and oil, and when we burn it in order to make energy, it goes back into the air. And then it comes back and starts this cycle again. It's in the air, plants take it in, it gets buried underground, turns into fossil fuels. We burn it and it goes back into the air. And whoop, it completes this cycle. And it can also get into the air in different ways too. Like it gets into the air from the factory that burns coal, but it also gets into the air from animals like us or cows in this picture, breathing it out. So it carbon can move in different ways too. But this is one example of how it moves through this cycle. So now we're going to play a game to get to practice this a little bit and see how carbon moves. So what you're going to do in Firefly, you're going to open up your My Carbon Journey document. And these slides are also on Firefly for you too, because these slides are going to take you through the steps of the game. And you'll click on this link, which will take you to roll a digital die or a dice. You're going to start in the rocks in the lithosphere slide. So we're starting in like we were buried. We are a carbon atom and we are buried in the rocks. So we're going to start there and you're going to roll the dice and to see where you move in the carbon cycle. So whichever number you roll will tell you where you go next. So we're imagining, everybody close your eyes. Imagine you are a carbon atom. You're this tiny, tiny, tiny piece of carbon. And we're going to see how you move around our planet and play this game to kind of figure that out. So you'll roll your dice. You'll see, like say you're starting in the rocks, which is called the lithosphere. And say you roll on your digital dice, which I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Say you roll a 6. This 6 tells you you stay underground as oil. So you'll write down, stay here, stayed in lithosphere, and you'll roll again. And let's say you roll a number 2. It tells us, so I look at number 2, it says you are oil and you get burned in a car. So we put that gasoline in our car, right? Which is a fossil fuel that has carbon in it. So we're a carbon atom. We go in someone's car as gasoline, we get burned and we get released into the air, into the atmosphere. So we're going to go to the slide that says atmosphere. Here it is. So our carbon atom now is floating in the air in the atmosphere. So I'm going to roll my dice again to see where we go next. So let's roll again and I'll see, let's say we get a number 4. So I'll go to my number 4 and it tells me as a carbon atom, we are taken in by the plants. So the plants take in the carbon dioxide, they take in the carbon when they're making their food. So now we're going to go to the biosphere slide. We're going to go to the plant slide. So I'm going to click to find the plant slide, not the water slide. Here's the plant slide. So then I'll roll again and let's see. Let's say I roll a 2. It says there's a forest fire. So the plants in the forest get burned. Go to the atmosphere slide. So we were in a plant, we were in a tree, but because of a forest fire, we get burned and we go back into the atmosphere. We get released into the air. So we'll go back to our atmosphere slide and we'll keep playing this game and see how we move around our planet as a carbon atom, as this tiny, tiny little piece of carbon. Okay? So now I'm going to show you where you're going to write all this stuff down and how you do this. So you'll click, actually, let me make this bigger again. Oh, so you'll click, here's the link to the digital die, to the dice. So you'll click on this link and it'll take you right here. And all you're going to do is you'll roll, once you get to the slide, you'll roll, and we got a number 2. So then you'll check your slide. So if we're starting, all of us are starting in rocks. We're a carbon atom that is stuck in the rocks. And since I rolled, what did I roll again? I rolled a 2. So I'm going to check here and it says 2. You are oil and get burned in a car. So we were put in a car as gasoline. Go to the atmosphere slide. We got burned and we got released into the atmosphere. So then you're going to click on, in Firefly, you'll see all your slides with your directions are here. The slides I'm just showing you are right here. And you're going to click on My Carbon Journey document. And this is where, excuse me, this is where you're going to write down where you go as a carbon atom. So you'll click here and it'll take you to this document. So we were a carbon atom, we were in rocks. We were trapped in the rocks as oil, I think it told us. But then we got burned in a car, so we go to the atmosphere or air. So I'll write that down next. And then we go back to our slot, we go back to our dice, and we roll again. So all you do is you click here to roll, and it tells us we got a number 5. So I'm now on my atmosphere slide, and it told me I got a number 5. And it says, stay here and roll again. So I'm still floating in the atmosphere as a carbon atom. So I'm going to go back to my carbon journey document, and I'll write, we stayed in the atmosphere for another round. And then I'll go back to my dice and I'll roll again. Click again, a 4. So let's see, I'm going to go back to my atmosphere slide. It says, you are taken in by plants. The plants take me in to make food. Go to the biosphere slide. So I'm going to go back to my carbon journey document. I'm going to write biosphere, because bio means life, living things. I'm going to write biosphere or plants. And then I'm going to go back to these slides here, and I'll go to my biosphere or plant slide, and I'll roll the dice again. So is this making sense how you're going to play this? And I got a number 6. Let's go over it one more time. So on the 6th slide, we are eaten by a rabbit. We are eaten by a rabbit. So now as a carbon atom, we are now inside the rabbit, which is still part of the biosphere. So I'm going to write here, we are still in the biosphere, but we were taken in by an animal. And you'll keep playing this until you fill up your whole carbon journey document and see how, as carbon atoms, we get moved around through our planet. So you're going to play this game. You're going to play this a bunch of rounds. And then after you're done with that, think a little bit about, how was your journey? What was it like? Where did you notice? Where did you start? Where did you end up? Did you get trapped? Were you in the atmosphere for a while? Did you ever end up going back to the lithosphere, to the rocks? Or did you tell us a little bit, think about, what was your journey as a carbon atom like? And after you do that, you are going to read a carbon cycle book on Epic. So if you go to your Epic account, and we also have a link here to Epic if you need it. So you'll click on this link, it'll take you to Epic, and you'll click on the little bell that's at the top. And in this little bell, it'll take you to your collections. And you'll click on the collection that says Carbon Cycle. And you can pick one of these different books about carbon cycle to read. Make sure you pick one that's at a good reading level for you. So flip through a little bit and make sure the words don't seem too hard. It doesn't seem too easy. And this book will just give you a little more reading, a little more understanding of what the carbon cycle is like. So you'll read this book for maybe like 15 minutes. And when you're done reading this book, you'll go back to your document. And at the very bottom, there's a big question down here where it asks you to really reflect on, what did you learn about the carbon cycle? How does carbon move from rocks to the atmosphere? How did you get from those rocks into the air? How does carbon move from the atmosphere to plants? Write some examples of how carbon moves around our planet in this carbon cycle. Okay, everybody? So let me see, just one last reminder. Great, so go ahead and get started. First, play your carbon cycle game. So use these slides to help direct you through what you need to do. Here are all your steps for this carbon cycle game. Play the carbon cycle game. Write down where you go in the carbon cycle in your My Carbon Journey document. And after you fill that up with your carbon journey, you're going to read the carbon cycle book on Epic and answer that last question in your carbon journey document. All right, everybody, You got this. Have fun exploring the carbon cycle. Let us know if you have any questions. See you all next time.